Welcome, everyone, to episode 16 of the Pinnacle Combat Sports Podcast. A very special episode on America's birthday, July 4th. Dan, how you doing? Happy 4th, buddy.
I feel good, Jim. I feel real good.
You feel good?
I feel good. Unlike America, America's getting kind of old, but not in the grand scheme. Huh? When you look at what other country, how old other countries are, you're like, okay, we're just babies.
Yeah.
Well, happy birthday, America. It's a beautiful day. It's a day for grilling, Jim.
Definitely, yeah.
Can't wait for that. I mean, tops on the list.
What are you grilling up today?
We've got some marinated. I think it's probably just going to be more like some marinated chicken, maybe some steaks, definitely some burgers. I'm going to get kind of repulsed watching the hot dog eating contest. Probably not going to throw any of those on there.
Yeah, also no Joey Chestnut.
Yeah, I wonder if that's is it money? I would assume.
He had some offer for a different company other than Nathan's, like a competitor or something.
Mm-hmm.
And so they kicked him off the contest. But I heard, and I don't know, we should look it up. Actually, I'm going to look it up. I heard that he set up a challenge against Kobayashi on Netflix.
That's ridiculous, but I mean...
And that might be going on today.
Hell yeah.
Let's see. Joey Chestnut, Netflix.
If Kobayashi wins it, does he cut like a mean promo?
Definitely. I hope so.
Yeah. What do you think he's going to say?
What is this?
It's so strange.
Yeah, September 2nd.
Wow.
I guess they're doing it. Yeah, September 2nd.
Labor Day weekend, right?
Okay. Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Or maybe on Labor Day, I believe. But, okay. That's a great... I know we're going to go off topic because it's not MMA, but that's going to be a great week right after Labor Day right there, dude. That sweet spot because you are going to have the Sphere the following Saturday, but that week is going to be so awesome for NFL.
Oh, yeah.
You got Thursday's kickoff, then you got the Friday to doing the first time ever in Brazil. So it's not that far off topic.
Who's playing in Brazil?
Doing it. I'm blanking on the second team, but the first team, it's definitely Eagles. Who is it? Eagles and...
I'm looking it up right now.
Okay.
Oh, Packers.
It's Eagles and
Packers.
There you go. Eagles and Packers, yep. Sao Paulo or something like that, I think. But that's awesome.
How hot is it going to be in Brazil in September?
Probably scorching. I would say...
Let's send the Green Bay Packers to the hottest goddamn place in the world.
Unreal. They have no energy for Lambeau Leap when it's 110 or whatever it's going to be. But no, it's good. It's going to be awesome, man. Definitely looking forward to that time because it's then you'll have like that Thursday, which is good. Just going to take over the week. Next thing you know, there'll be like a game every night. But except for Saturday, just because college football. But that's what's cool. Then you have that full opening weekend right after. You know, you get those big nights coming up, Friday night game, and then I love that time of year.
Yeah.
Especially because you also have a ton of like big UFC events around that time. Like that Madison Square Garden's been consistent every November.
November 9th, John Jones. He just confirmed today or yesterday that he's absolutely fighting on that card.
9th?
Yeah.
That's cool. Nice. Well, it's I know he intends to, but there's just so much that can happen. He's one of those ones you just can't. Sometimes you just can't take it for granted until he's like right there.
Yeah, he's a wild card for sure.
Yeah, you just never know sometimes. So that would be, man, that's awesome. And it's still going to be Stipe, right?
Yeah, that's what they say. Oh, which reminds me, something I did want to talk about today, since it's on our minds, is the pound-for-pound ranking has changed in the last week. Now that Alex Pereira head kicked Prohaska the other day, Alex Pereira is number 2 on the pound-for-pound and bumped John Jones down to number 3.
I got no problem with that. Just mainly, just strictly because of the activity.
Yeah,
that's all. It's no disrespect to anyone there, but kind of like it where it is. You got the most active guy that he probably should be as high as he could be, which would be 2, because you know who number 1 is. You can't really make. Well, I don't think you can make much of an argument because of the dominance coupled with obviously activity. So it's got to be Islam at top. But
and how dangerous that weight class is.
Oh God, yeah. It's always it's almost always been my favorite. It's funny because a lot of fighters that are favorites of mine through the years are always at 155.
Same, yeah.
It seems like, like it's always been a big Cowboy fan. Obviously, especially like earlier, big like Conor fan. Especially when you saw him against Alvarez, I was like, so crazy, that performance. Before Mayweather, then you have like Poirier. It's always been a favorite. So it's just like that division's just always been, I think, always the best in a lot of ways. Just the talent. That's just, like Gaethje. When do you want to miss a Gaethje fight, dude?
I know, yeah.
Like never. But yeah, no, it's there's a lot to look forward to. So I don't know how you want to jump in. If you want to start with like the news first, or you want to jump in?
Yeah, well, that was one of the news things that happened this week was Jon Jones went down in the pound for pound rankings, even though every time he's asked, or Dana White's asked about the pound for pound rankings, he argues Jon Jones to no end. And I know he has nothing to do with the rankings. It's not about that. I'm just wondering if they're doing this. Well, I guess that hopefully there's no motive or whatever, but I feel like if I was Jon Jones, this might bait me into a super fight, which is what they've been, at least Rogan and other people have been talking about since that last victory. Actually, before that last victory of Pereira. So I don't know, that it's interesting because we've missed out on so many super fights in the past. Like that is one I'd love to see.
Absolutely. He has that one weapon that could be a game changer against like Jon Jones, which would be that just the way he throws that calf kick. Obviously, what Jon Jones would probably be trying to do. You'd think he'd try to get that fight to the ground and submit him. I would think that would be his number one, or at least take him down, do damage there, and then from there, I don't know what he would do. But it seems like Pereira uses that calf kick as a form of a takedown defense. If he chips you with a few of those right away, everything you're moving off that foot just different right off the jump. And I think he uses that as an advantage in a way. And you just never know. I don't know. We've never really seen that happen to Jon Jones, but how crazy would that be?
Yeah.
You see Jon Jones with an instantly somewhat compromised like calf right off in the first round there. That kind of changes the complexion of the fight. That's the only reason why that's intriguing to me. Otherwise, I feel like it's just going to be too much for Pereira to stop that takedown.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, that's just kind of how I look at it. I was trying to look at ways. I mean, other than the obvious, those two just standing across from each other would be a crazy moment. But as far as the fight, I don't know how competitive it would be if Pereira can't be successful right away with something.
Yeah.
I mean, it's exciting nonetheless, right?
Yeah, and I'm just thinking about now, like, just like, the big thing with Jon Jones going to heavyweight to begin with was just the power of the guys in heavyweight. That was one thing for me. I was like, how is he going to be able to take a shot? Like, what if, like at the time, it was like, what if Francis Ngannou hits you with everything he's got? What are you going to do? Like...
Oh, you crumble.
Yeah, I know. I think
anyone does, yeah.
That's what I was thinking. Like, is Jon Jones going to be able to, like, walk through any of these punches? And Pereira being like a natural 230 or whatever, he's not a huge guy, which is what Dana White was arguing this past press conference for 303. It's just like it's a different beast, So what I'm saying is now that Jon Jones is like 255, whatever he is, 255, 260, and I know Pereira hits hard, obviously, but is he going to be able to take those punches better now that he's a bigger dude? And because if this was Jon Jones at 205, I'm sure he weighed at like 225 when he was cutting down to 205. Obviously, I think Pereira would knock him out, no problem. But now that he's a bigger dude, and I don't know, is that a factor anymore? Because that's Pereira's bread and butter, is just hitting hard, and obviously those calf kicks that you were talking about. But I don't know. I feel like if Pereira wins, it's got to be on the feet. And I know he hits hard, but do you think John Jones, being the bigger guy now that he's turned into over the past 5-6 years, do you think he's going to handle that better?
It's interesting. I tend to lean towards John Jones being able to do whatever he wants to people, in most scenarios. So that's why that fight, I just don't know how it's going to go. I mean, the best version of John Jones beats everyone, in my opinion. So,
yeah.
Man, yeah, you got a small window of opportunity, I think, against him, and he hasn't really shown much of a weakness there. And I feel like that's the only way I don't know who has the ability to take him down and submit him. I don't think there's anyone. So you figure that the only way I'm looking at it is someone's going to have to land a knockout shot on him in some way. I'd lean towards more Aspinall being that person to be able to do that. If I'm looking at potential for anyone to, but I can't doubt Pereira in any situation the way he's been. And then now, dude, think about, okay, I know it's a lot. What happens if Pereira goes out there and knocks out John Jones at heavyweight? What happens?
The world ends. The world ends. That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
He was using shaman magic. That's what I would say.
The UFC ends. They sell it to Saudi Arabia, and that's it. No more UFC.
How crazy was that video of him kind of circling after the stoppage, and Yuri kind of obviously it wasn't in direct correlation to him locking eyes with him, but as soon as he locked eyes with Pereira, after he was standing up wobbly, he collapsed again after he looked at. Do you see that?
Yeah.
It was so weird looking, especially given everything that happened and that was said. I was just like, Jesus, that looked kind of crazy. But I don't understand why I understand it's hard to keep a guy that big down that's trying to stand up, but you got to get people in there quick to just keep them on the ground there first. Just a couple minutes.
Yeah. You can't let people try to stand up after something like that.
I don't think that's good at all.
No.
Yeah.
But you also can't stop a lot of these guys because
it's hard. Yeah.
Big guys.
That's tough. That's a big guy you're trying to stop. I know he's wobbly, but that's not the point. Yeah.
That's probably one of the reasons why they have Herb Dean in there, because he's a pretty big dude too. And, but he even has trouble holding some of these guys up,
Yeah. It's just tough because you just didn't want to see him face plant because that would have been terrible.
Yeah.
Well, thankfully it didn't happen, but it's just either way, it just didn't. I just don't think that's good for the brain either way, jumping up like that.
Yeah.
You got to try to protect them from themselves. That's why they have so many. How many of those goddamn people are wearing black, sitting around, standing in that place? Go get in there and help. Make sure, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know, right?
If you're going to be there, if there's that many people there, earn your money right in those moments. But someone needs to help that ref out, because he just holding on to him. There's nothing you can do at that point because he's already standing. He couldn't get to him in time. But you need more people that can kind of get a stool under him right away and get him down, just so he's sitting there.
Yeah.
To clear it out for a couple minutes. But like I said, all that matters is nothing bad happened, because he just didn't. You kind of worry about a guy like Yuri now. That's too. You figure you were knocked out twice in that fight. Just with the consequences of Pereira, yeah, that's a flash knockdown, but that's not your. I think that one counts a little different when there's a guy like that hitting you.
Yeah.
So I think you stopped twice there, and then you were also stopped that previous time against him. So he's, this is kind of a very important time for him. I know he's going to probably want to jump right back, but I don't think that's a good idea. He's probably waiting maybe for the beginning of the year. At least, kind of give some time. Kind of what Gaethje's doing, right? I know. Yeah. I heard he was taking a year, right?
Something like that, yeah. And he should, especially after a knockout like that. That was
absolutely
crazy. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, so
and just to reevaluate some of these guys. Well, Yuri's not so much there, but Gaethje's been around a long time, and like he's at a point, with his fame and notoriety, like he could do almost anything, and I think he'd be successful in doing it. He's not quite at a level of like Dustin Poirier, but he's not far off. I mean, I'm sure if he wanted some big fight with everything he's done for the company, they would try to make it happen if it made sense. So, I'm sure he has a couple routes that he could go, especially if he comes back and gets one more big win. Sky's the limit for that guy. So, and I can't wait to see him come back. Another big American fighter, Justin Gaethje, right?
He's up there. Yeah, he's up there.
He's grilling today, I bet. Probably drinking a couple beers, hopefully.
Oh, I hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, he's definitely up there, dude. I mean, it's funny too because I think it's more. It's not even that because he wrestled at a high level for. I'm just gonna say the name. One of the first names I think about is Dan Henderson. Mm-hmm. You think like American, like Jesus, dude. He looked like he was built with something different than just flesh and bone. That man, and I think it was that Bisping knockout that really cemented that.
Oh yeah.
Just because of the trash talk and nature there, and just the absolute egregious after the knockout shot, like you totally get that.
That second shot.
Take a step. Yeah, that might have been the worst one that I've seen in UFC that I can think of. But who do you think of right off the bat? Like, I know my favorite. I would probably go Chuck Liddell's my favorite fighter. We're talking like a straight American, like back in the day.
Randy Couture.
Playing Rock'em Sock'em. Yeah, another one. Randy. It's a great name.
Yeah.
Is that your favorite? I know your favorite's GSP, so it wouldn't fall under
he's
American.
Canadian, yeah.
Shout out to GSP. That guy's the man, dude.
Yeah, he might actually. Randy might be. It's either Randy or Cowboy.
Cowboys are good, yeah.
Yeah, I think Randy's probably my favorite American fighter ever. Oh, here's something I was thinking the other day, and you probably know the answer to this. And here's something we should talk about because this is news.
Okay.
Israel Adesanya and Duplessis had their face-off the other day. They did a little press conference. Did you see any of that?
I did. I just kind of saw just the stare down. I didn't hear anything that was really said.
Yeah, I saw some of the headlines, and I mean, nothing much. But the stare down was intense. First of all, it was awesome, and that's going to be an awesome fight. But if Izzy wins, I think he's the first 3-time champion in a weight class. Is that true?
Oh wow, that could be true, dude.
I think he'd be the first ever 3-time middleweight champion.
That's a nice little stat. That I don't.
Because I know there's been a ton of people that have won twice in their weight class.
Sure. Yeah.
And I shouldn't say a ton.
One, right?
Not a ton. There's not a ton. But there's a small
GSP's
handful.
Definitely one. He's one of them. He won twice. But
Didn't Randy win twice?
3. Probably. I remember I remember watching all his fights. I just couldn't remember what their.
Yeah, I know he went between heavyweight and light heavyweight, but I thought he was a 2-time light heavyweight champ, but I could be wrong. Amanda Nunes won. She lost it and won it back. GSP. There were a couple others I was trying to think of the other day. But I think Izzy would be the first 3-time champion.
Wow, that's interesting. Okay.
And I only thought about that because I was thinking of Randy, and I'm pretty sure he won 2, but I could be wrong. I don't know. Let me look it up. Randy Couture. Oh, I think he's a 2-time heavyweight champ. Because it said reclaiming the heavyweight championship here.
Didn't Habib get technically stripped of his title at one point? So he'd probably be 2 as well.
Khabib?
Yeah, didn't he get stripped of his title at one point? And had to fight back for it, and then he never lost it after that.
Oh shit! Wait, sorry. Randy has won the heavyweight championship 3 times.
Wow. Okay, so to kind of you kind of forget about how long ago those fights were, and what weight they were at. Adesanya can join that club because there's not many of them.
Wow, that's crazy.
3-time heavyweight, you said?
Yeah, I'm looking right now.
Wow, he's competed so many times for the heavyweight title because he also competed for the light heavyweight title, I would imagine, at some point. But he
won the light heavyweight championship too. So he's a 4-time champion. That's nuts.
Crazy. Just how many times he's like in different generations. Like, you figure how long ago he was fighting, how old he was when he started. He's definitely older. And then on top of that, you fight Brock Lesnar for the heavyweight title. Think about that. That career doesn't even make sense. You're like fighting Chuck Liddell back in the day at light heavyweight. Now you're fighting Brock at heavyweight. That's like, man.
So Randy first won it. He's the 3rd ever UFC heavyweight champion. He won it at UFC Japan in 1997.
Wow.
And then he won it for the 2nd time at UFC 28 in Atlantic City.
Who's that against?
Pedro Hizo? Wait, no.
Oh, Pedro Hizo.
Is that right?
Name. That's probably way back. That dude, talk about leg kicks. Crazy ass leg. It was just rather be hit with a baseball bat. But who was the 3rd one?
And then his 3rd one was where is it? Right there, UFC 68 in Columbus. Defeated Gabriel Gonzaga.
Oh.
Wait, is that right? No, sorry, he beat Tim Sylvia.
Yes, that was. Remember he dropped him with a right hand right away, and then just kind of just dominated the 5 rounds, right?
Yeah,
that was wild. Seeing
UFC 28, who the hell did he beat?
Also fought Sylvia.
Oh, he beat.
I forgot about that.
His 2nd reign, he beat Kevin Randleman.
Damn, dude. Think of those names, man. Kevin Randleman, right? Chuck Liddell. Then we just mentioned Pedro Hizo.
Yeah.
What was the one you just mentioned before that? I'm sorry. Before Randleman.
Gabriel Gonzaga.
After that, I'm sorry. Gonzaga's dangerous. You saw he did.
Kevin Randleman.
There was one more. I'm blanking on the other one, but I mean, Jesus, man, the names: Liddell, Randleman, Gonzaga.
Yeah, it's crazy.
The danger level is high on those fellas.
So yeah, apparently there is a 3-time champion, and I didn't know. So there you go.
That's cool though.
He might be number 2 though.
Every day.
But let's get into July. Let's preview July real quick. Because I know it's July 4th. We got things to do. I don't want to keep you here too long. But we got a couple fight nights coming up. Actually, next weekend, right? The 14th or something?
Yeah, the next 2 Saturdays 13th. After this upcoming 6th. Yeah, the 13th and 20th are actually both 2 free cards headlined by in the women's division. Let's see, flyweight and strawweight.
Yeah.
Which is that's an interesting fight. Yeah. That Denver card's really looking good. Because you saw that one I sent you with Drew Dober and that dude Gene Silva that just fought.
Yeah, Gene Silva fought last week, didn't he?
Yeah. He had a big knockout win. So and once you found out, I know he missed weight, so please make weight, and then I'm cool with that's one of my pet peeves. I hate rooting for fighters that miss weight. But as far as Gene Silva, once I found out he's in the same camp as MMA nerds with Rufy.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to pronounce his name yet because I've only seen him once, but that dude has a bright future in UFC.
Yeah,
he is a dangerous dude. Mauricio Rufy? Huffy? I don't know how you pronounce it. Brazilian Huffy? Is it Huffy? But either way, those 2 dudes are so fun to watch. So you figured Dober and Gene Silva are going to get after it. That's my fight of of the card right there by a mile. And that's
so
no disrespect.
What happened to Mike Davis? Because Drew Dober was supposed to fight Mike Davis.
Yeah, you do wonder. He must have. We'll have to look it up because he must have. He must have had an injury we didn't maybe hear about, and it just made sense. Because you figure these guys are. If I'm a matchmaker, I'm looking at, all right, I have these lightweights competing at this card right now tonight, and then I have in 2 weeks I have a fight that just fell out, or maybe just keep it in mind. I'd always be keeping that in mind. If you see someone look good and it's like a fight where they luckily didn't. They kind of came out like pretty much relatively unscathed, which just seems like that's what happened with Gene Silva.
Yeah,
it's a perfect fight opportunity for him. So I would say that's probably what happened. I don't think they pull fights apart very often. But that could be the case too. Be interesting. We'll have to look that up. But what jumps out to you here? Other than I try to not pick the main event because it's like, yeah, obviously it's the main event. It's obviously going to be like a very good matchup with two fighters that are high in their division. So I could try to pick a different one. I'm going to go with that one.
Yeah.
As far as your,
well, I mean,
I got a big sleeper as well.
Well, Drew Dober is a great fighter. So I am looking forward to that as well. Bonfim is on this as well. Bonfim's great.
Yeah, Gabriel Bonfim. He's really good on the ground.
I'm not sure. I don't really know who he's fighting. This guy from the Congo, apparently.
Yes, he's dangerous. He's kind of unorthodox and just very dangerous. Just built like a statue.
And then Cody Brundage, obviously.
Good card, huh?
Fight on UFC 300. Yeah, it's a great card.
Abdul Razak Al Hassan. He's another one. Talk about someone just like the power there for that particular fighter is just he's just such a powerful dude.
Dude, these African guys are just jacked. All of them.
Yeah, absolute beast, dude. Just physical specimen. I mean, and that's the thing too, because that was it Ngannou who said that? Someone mentioned like he's like, oh, bro, you go to like say my country or certain countries, Africa, there'll be just probably a few dudes where you walk by, you're like, Jesus Christ, man! Like it's just there's just genetics. That you can also look at it like you talk about, which is a show I'll get into this weekend. We got Vikings Valhalla. The last season's coming out next week, so I'm gonna watch the previous 2 seasons.
Oh, I've never seen that. One. Is it good,
dude? Yeah, on Netflix, Vikings Valhalla. The 3rd season comes out the 11th. So I think it's only like 8 episodes each season too, so that you can easily watch them.
Nice.
I definitely recommend that. But that was more of my point, is the Vikings people that were just large people, it's just genetics. So it's just, that's just interesting because it's like you haven't really tapped into, there's a lot of MMA areas where they're kind of just getting going. Like I'm not saying it's the same thing, but it's as far as physical genetics, but it's like that whole world and like Asian fighters, that's becoming a boom now. Now it's just going to only get better there. I mean, maybe South African, there's a lot of good fighters down there. And then you figure Duplessis, if he continues to be successful, imagine if he beats Adesanya, be a whole new wave of that particular side of the world. There's just so much, man. It's so exciting and you always have your Russian fighters. You always have your Brazilian fighters. Obviously, American has their own plenty of different mix of fighters. It's like, man, what a time to be a fan, dude.
Yeah, and we also obviously have to mention the main event, Namajunas and Cortez. That's going to be an awesome fight.
Big fight for Cortez, huh? It's a big,
huge fight. Yeah,
big step up, and it's well deserved because I know she's on a run herself. I know she only has one loss on her record, I believe. Yep, one loss by a submission back in 2017. So she's rattled off. Let's see, 1, 2, 3. Was that 11 straight? Yeah, she's 11-1. So I think she lost her first fight, Jim.
Oh, really? That's it?
Yeah, I think so. I'm looking at it right. Yeah, so looks like she lost her first professional fight via guillotine in the 2nd round in Invicta. Invicta was always nice to watch, man. Just the all female, like it was kind of like a in a lot of ways it was like a female WEC.
Yeah, yeah.
Like a lot of the smaller weights were fighting in WC that we loved. Yeah, that's a great fight because you know how big of a fan we are for as big a fan as Rose.
Yeah.
We are of Rose. Barely
Doug
could say it.
Rose, baby.
Doug Rose, man, unreal. She's always been one of my favorite fighters to watch. You just always want to watch her compete.
I want to see her go for one more run.
That would be nice. Yeah.
Yeah,
32, man. She's not that old. She's really not that old.
Yeah.
But
she had such a... Dude, that was just... I know we're probably going to do something which we've talked about as like our favorite UFC events, but that was my favorite UFC event. Was when
all the belts changed?
Yeah, all the belts changed. It was GSP's last fight against Bisping, and she knocks out Joanna in the first round head kick. It was just
unreal,
insane.
My soul left Wasn't there body. Three? Wasn't there 3 titles that night that changed?
And it was
what was the third one?
Garbrandt and what's his name? TJ.
Wow, dude, talk about that's definitely got to be like your top 2 or 3 cards.
And it was New York City.
Yes, everything was huge for them. Just that moment. Madison Square Garden, 3 belts, 3 titles, just in general, 3 titles on the line, and then all 3 change hands that same night. That's tough to beat, man. It's tough to beat. That might be number 1. Because I know the one that jumps out for me is different because I was there live, so it's a different memory in my head. But that was 189 for sure. It was when Conor fought Mendez. There's just a ton, but the number 1 fight is still the craziest fight I've seen live, which was Rory McDonald and Robbie Lawler 2. That was it was insane.
So that was insane. I remember I was in Canada, and I was with this girl I was dating at the time, and I was like, I just need you to find a stream of this. Because, we're at a hotel, and she found a stream within 10 minutes, and I was like, oh my God, thank you so much. Because I didn't know how to look for that stuff at the time, because it was pretty new. It was like 2015 or whatever.
Yeah, it's way different time.
Yeah, and she found one, and I watched that live, and it was awesome. It was so crazy.
It's so funny. You go from
and you were there, right?
I was in Canada. No, yeah, I was there. I was there live. It was
wild.
Live
watching
I was there.
That's insane.
That's why that one's a little different for me because it's like there's bias there. So I think the best card ever has to be the one you mentioned.
Oh, I don't know about that. I mean, there's other fights on it, but I just
that's a great.
Well, I think what it is you associate what you were like, where, like everything that you were doing at the time and where you were and the reaction. And because I was pretty new. What year was this?
What's that? The one you're talking about?
2017. So I had just moved here. I was less than a year in Portland.
Yeah, memories.
And I went to a Buffalo Wild Wings of all places because I knew they would play the fights. I didn't have a local place where I could go to watch them yet. So I went to Buffalo Wild Wings, and there was a guy from Canada, because we're not far from Vancouver, who bet on GSP at the bar with this guy who's a Bisping fan. And this guy was like 6 tequila shots deep, and he's like, I'll bet you Bisping kicks his ass. And the guy's like, all right. And he puts down $40 on the bar, which is probably totally illegal to do at the bar, right? But it was great. The whole thing, like, it was just a good, like, people were there to watch the fights. It was a good vibe, good energy, and then all that shit happened. And I was a huge fan of TJ Dillashaw back in the day, so I was really pumped about that fight, which turned out to be great. So yeah, it was just everything I was doing at the time, and I think just like you, being there, the energy of the Rory McDonald fight and all that stuff must have been insane. And Conor,
it's the moment. Yeah, it's the moments, man. There's those, and then you also had, I believe it was, I want to say maybe Gunnar Nelson was on that card. Was that the same card he choked out Brandon Thatch? But it was like every main card fight was a stoppage. It was like Jeremy Stevens knocked out Dennis Bermudez with like a flying knee. It's crazy. Yeah. And then that was like right when blank on his first name, Almeida, the Brazilian dude, 135. he knocked out Brad Pickett. So it was just a collection of crazy. Then you figure McGregor fought on like one knee. Yeah, like I think he had a blown out knee. Fought Mendes, so like that was a stoppage too. And then just that fight in the middle, where like after the fourth round, like McDonald and Robbie Lawler are standing next to like in front of each other.
Oh my God.
Like when the round ended and the ref was trying to like. He's trying to like. It was like he's letting them know that the round ended. Like, no, they know the round ended. They're not. They don't care.
Blood all over their faces. That was nuts.
You have better chance moving two mules. That just they just like they were just. It was so funny. They're just standing. I was like, that was one of my craziest moments. Especially like you said, I was there live. But it was funny as soon as you said that about memories. I remember one of my favorite. Like watching live fights was, I remember my first night when I moved to Texas in Austin there, I went to Rainy Street and I found that like one sports bar that was playing it because it was a free card. And I was like, listen, it was the same thing. It was the girl that I was talking to, like that I met up right away. I was like, listen, just find a sports bar for me. So we found one and it was the same night that Justin Gaethje was making his UFC debut.
Oh,
and when he fought Michael Johnson, remember that one?
Yeah.
Where he got rocked a couple times, and I was like, I remember I was talking him up so much to people that were watching it with us. I was like, oh, dude, it's gonna be crazy. Gaethje's in the UFC now. Like, I'm like, you're talking about, how dangerous Michael Johnson is, but
yeah,
I was picking Gaethje in that fight. So like when he got rocked a couple times, I was like, oh shit, and then you saw the way it ended.
Mm-hmm.
What a wild fight. So I remember watching that live. That was like one of the first fights I remember when you mentioned that. It's funny how certain. How about this one? I don't know what card that was, but when Masvidal landed that jumping, that just, I don't even know what you call that.
Oh, yeah.
Then a flying knee on Ben
Askren.
And we were in Portland at that bar. That was another one. Like you just remember that moment.
See, that bar was awesome, dude. And they sold it.
It was so cool.
Well,
they sold it.
Yeah, because, COVID, and I'm sure that had a big thing to do with it, but that was an awesome UFC bar. It wasn't a UFC bar, but they'd play all the UFCs and they
turned into it.
Like a cover, and like it was a big place. There was a bunch of I think all of 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu was there.
It was a really cool. That was a great spot to watch them for sure.
All the people were super cool and nice, and that was a great vibe, good energy there. And then another one. Now that we're talking, sorry, what were you gonna say?
It might be what you brought to when we're UFC 300 Denver. That bar was awesome too.
Oh yeah, that bar was great.
That last card, yeah. What were you gonna say?
Which is actually kind of cool because now this card coming up is a Denver card, and I was like, shit, maybe. I would love to just. I wish I could just go to just go to the whenever I wanted, just fly out to Denver, hang out again. But yeah, obviously time and money is sometimes hard to come by, but. The one I remember, actually, I think you must have been there, the night that Anderson broke his leg. Did you come out with us to the Charlie Horse? Yeah, you did.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I won't mention names or anything that happened that night, but that was that night, right?
Oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah. Okay, now I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yes. I was there that night. The only reason why I was like blanking on it right away is because I remember I missed one. I did miss the first time he fought Weidman. I remember I think I was on a vacation that week, and we were on our way back, I think, from Myrtle Beach, or on our way to, I can't remember. And I just remember getting off the plane and then getting service and then getting a text like, holy shit, I still got knocked out. But
yeah.
So that was a crazy one. That was not a normal way of I normally don't miss, especially big fights. So I normally don't miss them at all, and that was a crazy one to miss live. But
I just remember that second fight where he broke his leg. My good friend, he's pretty squeamish about blood and stuff like that, and after he broke his leg, I'm looking for my buddy, and I'm like, where'd he go? So I go out into the other room because they had like UFC in one specific room, and he comes out of the bathroom white as a ghost. Apparently, he like passed out in the stall because the guy was so funny. But yeah, and then the
Uh,
cool part about that bar, which is again not a thing anymore, right? It's like, or they franchised it or something, right?
where's this? Oh yeah, I'm not sure. I'm honestly not sure what it is now. I haven't been there
Yeah.
in years, but yeah, it's cool. Cool what
But
kind
it
of
was
memories you
really
have
cool.
from
They
there.
had like one room that was an arcade, one room that was specifically for like functions, and then the main bar area they turned into like a club every Friday and Saturday night. So like we watched the UFC fights and then we went out to the bar and just like there was a DJ and all kinds of stuff going on. It was great. It was awesome.
Oh yeah, no, that was always they even had like a country thing on Thursdays. It was I didn't even like country music, and that was a fun spot to be.
Yeah, yeah.
I remember that. Yeah, that was a great spot. But no, this card, Jim, this Denver card's looking card's looking real good, dude.
Yeah.
Like I like a lot of fights in this card.
Yeah,
Like
I'm
you even have
excited
like
for it.
Montel Jackson, Blackshear's gonna be awesome.
Well, we got a lot more
Agapova and Santos.
to cover in July. So let's what else we got going on? We got the other UFC fight night, Lemos and how do you say that? Jandaroba?
I have to hear it. But she's on the upswing. She's coming up. So that's a good test for her because
Actually, both of them. They're both.
oh, but
Yeah.
Lemos has kind of been she's obviously you're right, but it's Lemos is just a little more established. Like
Yeah.
it seems like Jandiroba. How do you say it, Jim? I don't know. We're gonna have to figure that one
I
out.
want to say it's a soft J. Yandiroba.
Yandaroba. I like that. It's probably what it is. Yandaroba. So no, she's a very very talented fighter because she's beaten some really good names coming up. You figure her last three, she beat Angela Hill, Marina Rodriguez, and Lupi Godinez. So those are three really good names in that division.
Yeah.
But then again, so is Lemos, and she's dangerous. So that's a good fight. I like that matchup.
And there's a lot of other good. Well, there's a couple. We got Usman's brother
Canada.
on the card. Muhammad
Oh, he's on the
Usman.
prelims.
Well, yeah. See, this is
I
weird
see
though.
him.
Like
Okay.
yeah, it says prelims.
I see what you mean, though. It's probably not in order quite yet.
Yeah.
But the fight that I really like is how about Bill Algeo against the Korean Superboy Doo Ho Choi, Jim.
Yeah.
Remember Doo Ho Choi?
Yep.
He's fun. I mean, he's taken some losses, but you figure he's just like, I mean, talk about someone who's just willing to go into the fire, man. Remember that fight he had with Cub Swanson? That's one of my favorite
Oh
fights.
yeah.
That's up
crazy.
there.
Yeah.
That was an insane fight, man. But that I'm really looking forward to that UFC Denver card. But this one's definitely not bad at all. There's quite a few fights.
Yeah, Brian
Plus,
Kelleher, he's really good.
Brad Tavares and Jun Young Park. That's a good fight.
Brad Tavares, yeah.
I like some of these fights. Brian Kelleher and Cody Gibson. That's a good matchup. They both got good motors. That should be a good fight. But I mean, let's talk a little bit about the main event of July, if we will. That card coming up at the end of the month is phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean, just phenomenal. It really is. Especially that pay-per-view. Look at that pay-per-view main card. Right, like we gotta talk about every fight for just a second. I mean, we can get into that like later on in this. Actually, we probably should mention it. So, and we'll look up on it and talk about it after. But you got Leon Edwards and Bilal Muhammad, Tom Aspinall, Curtis Blades. A nice rematch because you figure Aspinall, that was when he hurt his knee.
Yep.
So that's a nice one to run right back. Perfect timing for it. Makes sense. Bobby Green, Paddy Pimblett, Muhammad Mak. That's the one I want to talk about. Mokaev and Cap. They had a moment. I think they might have gotten to a fight at the PI, UFC PI, not too long ago.
Yeah, was this week?
Yeah, so hopefully that fight's not in jeopardy at all. But you also have Arnold Allen and Giga Chikadze. Just those 5 fights in that pay-per-view, that's a phenomenal fight card, man. But yeah, I don't really know what I guess Mokaev, I believe, said something like he would slap
Manel
Cap when he sees him.
Yeah, I have it right here.
it didn't quite happen when he saw him.
Manel Cap allegedly split Muhammad Makayev's head open in a fight at the UFC PI.
Yeah, I think he elbowed him or something like that. But so I wonder if that fight's still on the. I just mean they're probably going to at some point run it. They're going to have to. I don't know if it's disciplinary. I don't know how that goes. They'll probably eventually happen to fight, but will it happen in 3 or 4 weeks?
Yeah,
is that 4 weeks? I'd say probably no. 3 weeks, right? From the 6th, we'll count it.
Yeah, if he needs stitches or anything, I don't know.
And people will be like, "Oh, it's going to be healed up." I'm like, A, it won't be healed up. B, he's not going to be able to train because it's going to open up. So that fight's probably going to have to be rescheduled.
Which is a bummer.
Thankfully,
come on, man! Like, just save it. Just save it for the fight.
For sure. There's a lot of that stuff. That's why if I was a fighter, I wouldn't be telling anybody I'm gonna stop when I see him. Because you might see him.
Yeah.
And then then you got to deal with that. So I know the person was physically, you got to blame him more, but given what was said, if anyone should know not to say those type of things to a professional fighter, it should be a professional fighter. So it's kind of confusing, but
yeah.
But thankfully for this card, man, you got, if I'm the UFC, that fight, if they don't throw another one in there, which they easily could, I'd say throw Nathaniel Wood and Daniel Pineda right up there, start the main card with them. But I would say that fight's probably not going to happen then, right? Depending on how bad the cut was. They didn't really allude to that, did they?
No. Arnold Allen, Chikadze, either way, that's going to be great.
What a fight, dude. That's a great. I mean, Arnold Allen is an absolute. Just talk about. He's kind of like a. I don't want to say too much with it. I'm only making the comparison because of his overall MMA game. He's like a British Roy McDonald. It seems like he got into this MMA training early. I'm not saying skill level. I'm saying or any of that. I'm just saying someone you can tell has been training MMA for a long time, as opposed to a guy who wrestles now learning everything, or a boxer who's learned everything. Like, it seems like he's kind of learned MMA as a whole pretty much as a whole, because it shows when fighters fight a complete MMA game.
Yeah.
When they've kind of been trained a certain way, that was great about Rory. You didn't know what he was going to do, and that's probably because maybe he didn't know. He was so flowy.
That's
especially
true,
in his prime, dude. I'm telling you, especially in his prime, he just he knew he could do whatever he wanted at any time. He was so confident. Such a good striker, so good with distance, very good wrestler, especially offensively. Like, he would be able to take that fight where he wanted. He was dangerous everywhere. So I kind of look at Arnold Allen that way. Plus, he's got superior genetics. Do you know his dad's like a former strongman?
Oh, really? No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so you got that going for you. That's always a good thing. But Chikadze is a really good, really sneaky, really dangerous kickboxer. Who I'm sure has rounded his game, but he's just dangerous striker. So that's a fun fight, man. That's my sneaky one on that card. Because it's a tough fight for him. Don't get me wrong at all, but Leon Edwards is one of the most talented fighters in UFC now that doesn't get talked about nearly enough.
Yeah. He's underrated for sure.
Very, very much so.
And let's not forget that he was ready and willing to jump into UFC 300, and he was given 3 different fighters and He wanted. They were turning him down.
Yes, that's what I heard. Yep.
And maybe not because it's him, but because of, I think at that time, timing and all that. But he was ready to fight 3 killers for UFC.
Because he already has the belt. It's his. So he's looking at it like, oh, anyone in this division can be my next fight. That's if you're not a champion looking at it that way. Like, I understand when they're like, oh, he doesn't deserve it, he's not in the right spot. I get that. But holding the mentality like anybody at this weight is next, that's fine. But it's a little different when you're getting that fight. I understand that. I'd want 8 weeks to prepare for that big of a fight if I was the challenger. Because I understand stepping short notice, you want to take those, but if you legitimately think you could be a world champion, I think you should probably give yourself that camp. But that's just me. I think it's a different mentality for certain fighters. And you respect the hell out of both, right? You have to. Everyone's different, you know. But what sticks out the most for you for this card, if you're looking at it as a whole?
Well, I mean, obviously, the main event's amazing.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a huge fan of Tom Aspinall, and if there's one person I would like to see fight John Jones because of the challenge,
that's
Tom
your guy.
Aspinall's my guy. Bobby Green and Paddy Pimblett's going to be fun. I don't
dangerous fight for Pimblett.
Definitely, yeah.
Very
but
dangerous.
You know, just like Ian Gary and some of these new up and coming guys, like these are the tests. You know, this is Bobby Green's no slouch, man. So
he's not, and he also has the wrestling background. So if you want to try to grapple and get, what if he's stronger than you think? What if he's a better wrestler than you think, which he probably will be?
Yeah,
because he has that background. Plus, he has true power, very unorthodox. It's hard to hit, but he keeps his hands under his waist. He doesn't even keep them at his waist. I think he kind of holds them by it. Like, he throws those from weird spots. And there's no, I think a lot of people watch that and they're thinking it's cocky, but it's like, no, he's trying to draw something out of someone.
Yeah.
That's all. He's just doing something. He's doing it in a very unorthodox way, but I mean, it works for him. He hasn't been caught much, man. There's a few fighters that have been able to do it, but he's also stopped some fighters that are also high levels. That's a dangerous fight for Paddy Pimblett, especially to carry a lot of nerves at home, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I think so. You figure those are such polar opposites. You figure the fight Paddy Pimblett has to take in England, walking out where it's kind of like your backyard, as opposed to Aspinall, same situation, but entirely different scenario. You lost to that dude, but you don't even think it was a loss because you hurt your knee kind of in a weird way, and it was kind of so it's an entirely different mentality.
Yeah.
So that fight could be anywhere, and I think Aspinall's going to win this fight. Yeah, I think Aspinall wins this fight. Yeah. In any way, because he's just going in. It's no knock on Curtis Blade. I just think Aspinall is so talented.
He's very well rounded.
He can do it all, man. And he's another guy you can tell seem to develop everything at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
He's a very well-rounded game, and he's dangerous everywhere, man. I thought he's going to have a little more difficulty with Pavlovich, and he figured him out right away and starched him. I was like, okay, so yeah. I don't know. I want to see him. That's why I agree with you. I want to see him fight John Jones. So I'm rooting for him. Always rooting for Leon. No disrespect to anybody that we don't pick, but man, there's some fun fights, man. I love Nathaniel Wood. Love watching him fight. Love Arnold Allen. Watching him fight. Yeah, England's going to be represented pretty well that night.
That Arnold Allen Chikadze fight is my favorite fight on the card, I think.
There you go.
Style, matchup wise, stylistically.
Yes. Yeah,
that's going to be an awesome fight. But yeah, the whole main card is amazing, and I really hope I want to see that fight, Makayev and Kopp.
I would think it still happens. I just don't. I don't know. But then again, okay, so stories could be different. I'm not saying that. What if maybe the cut's not that bad?
Yeah.
When they say split open, it's like, well, okay, so
that was probably his team.
I'm kind of curious.
Saying that.
Yeah,
team.
but it's also like adrenaline's high. You guys are in the middle of whatever you're in the middle of, and then you get cut. I mean, blood can be kind of deceiving in those. You know what I mean? I'll give you a funny example. I forget which department store I was in. But one time I was in a department store, and I dropped something out of my hands, and I already had a scar on my forehead from when I was cut before, and it's just like scar tissue, and I whacked, like the stands where the shirts are, like just the metal frames.
Yeah. I
whacked my head so hard on that, it just split that cut new, and it wasn't even that. It was maybe maybe a half inch. You would have thought that I got hit with, I don't know. I was just like, holy shit. So I had to hold my head and run into the bathroom. It was there was so much blood.
Yeah. So
it's kind of like, and then it was not a big cut. So you never quite know. So that fight could be on. As long as I would think you might have to worry about more disciplinary. it happened at the PI. They might have to set an example in some way. I don't know though, because is that just the UFC's at their discretion? Like a commission can't get involved because I know the fight's set up, but it's really irrelevant if the fight's in England, right?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
So who could get involved? Basically, is what I'm saying, other than UFC.
I think that's it. I don't know
So
how
they might
they
just
do
look at it.
like athletic commissions over in England.
Yeah,
I don't know
I think
how
they
that
would have
works.
no say. I just wonder if the situation would be different if that fight's happening in Vegas in a few weeks, right?
Yeah.
Instead of England, because the PI is in Vegas, so or Nevada, just say. But so I tend to lean to hopefully that cut's not bad and that fight's going to stay on because this is what they do, is what they fight. You don't want them to fight in those scenarios, but there's kind of a perfect storm, I bet. What's up with the scheduling there? I wouldn't want to have them at the same time anyway. Maybe they should do a better job of paying attention who's kind of like actively talking shit going into these fights.
Yeah.
And maybe not try to have them at the PI at the same time. So I wonder who's to blame for that, if anything at all. Yeah, it's interesting. So I would hopefully lean toward the cut not being bad, the fight's still on because this is what they do. So they have to settle it somehow. What better way than 3 weeks?
Yeah.
So hopefully it stays on.
And
I'm hoping.
Yeah, me too, because I would love to see that fight happen. And obviously there's bad blood there, and yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot going on there. So I say hopefully they keep it on there, and you can discipline them after if you want. But
yeah,
what happens if they could fight in 3 weeks and then hug it out after a fight? So let's just watch it all play out.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, but I mean, either way, man, talk about it. Just figure the end of June, it took a little bit hit in a few different ways, but I mean, just kind of like the way that car was just kind of like cursed. To get a fight that was announced in 3 hours notice. We might never see that again. But I mean, it was still a damn good event. They had a fight drop out. I mean, the names blank, and I can't remember who was supposed to fight, but it was a big name, Jim. We can't think of who it was, but that was going to be a.
For when?
No, I was kidding. It was Connor. Connor dropped out in that fight.
Oh yeah. I thought you were talking about a different fight.
Either way, that was a great end to June, and I think we're going to have an even better, and that fight card is going to be insane.
Worth the wait.
Just add to, absolutely, man. Yeah. It's going to add to a great 2024. The fights have been unreal.
And two more quick ones before we wrap up, if you're game for that. And I 100%. Say game because we have Jorge Masvidal and Nate Diaz on Saturday, 2 days. I couldn't care any less about this fight. I don't know about you.
I won't watch it, but it's not like I'm like, who cares what I think? But
yeah,
if it's a pay-per-view, I'm saving my money for the high level UFC or just MMA, whatever in general, combat sports. I think this is more like the spectacle. And it's just cool that they can continue to make money because I'm sure they'll get paid well for it. That's great.
Yeah.
But I would just rather see them both be continuing to compete MMA if they want to continue to fight. That's all. These boxing matches don't do much for me.
Yeah, I'm the same way. But I looked at the card, and Anthony Pettis is on the card. That's kind of cool.
Oh, who's he boxing?
Chris Avila.
Oh, that's one of Diaz's boys. Okay.
Okay.
That's cool.
And then Shane Mosley Jr. is fighting Daniel Jacobs.
Okay. Daniel Jacobs, that's a name. Daniel Jacobs. He's like, okay, so who was the first name you mentioned? I didn't hear it.
Shane Mosley Jr.
Yes, Mosley Jr. Okay. Is Daniel Jacobs that dude? Am I thinking of the wrong Jacobs? Wasn't there a Jacobs that fought Triple G?
Let's look it up.
I might be thinking about an entirely different name.
Daniel Jacobs. Born in 87? Oh, he fought Alvarez. He fought... Hold on. Boxing record. Here we go. He fought Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. He fought Canelo Alvarez in 2019.
Did he fight Golovkin back in the day? Or back a little while ago? It might just be Canelo I'm thinking of.
No.
It's a different name. Okay. But yeah, no, Canelo. Okay, so that's a legitimate. I mean, it's cool. Don't get me wrong. It's like I said, you want them to make money doing whatever the hell they want. That's awesome that they're getting that.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't particularly interest me and very much, especially if I'm gonna have to pay for it. I don't know. That'd be more like if I was in the particular city it's being held, I'd maybe go watch it live. I wouldn't really care to, as far as a pay-per-view, you know?
Yeah, I'm the same
It's just a different experience. Yeah, but that's just cool. I know Masvidal mentioned he might want to come back in the UFC and have a rematch with Wonder Boy. And that doesn't even sound all that bad. It sounds like a pretty good idea. Given where Wonder Boy is in his career, he probably might even be inclined to take that.
And I'm sure Nate, given the right amount of money, would come back and fight somebody, you know? And especially with his brother Nick coming up again and having that fight at Abu Dhabi. You never know.
Tough fight coming up. Tough fight. Was it Luque, right?
Yep. Vicente Luque.
Vicente Luque, man. Yeah, that's a tough fight. It's a cool matchup because you figure Nick Diaz is like, obviously his bread and butter is more so his boxing and his jiu-jitsu. And I think Luque is kind of very similar, where I think that's probably his two best skills. So, pretty cool.
The last event I wanted to mention was obviously July 20th, Jake Paul and Mike Perry. I also looked up the card of this, and this is the one Cesar Chavez Jr. is fighting Uriah Hall.
Interesting, huh?
That'll be fun.
That can be Uriah Hall, in my opinion, was never like a, I don't want to come off as like, how do I really say it? Like, I feel like he was much more dangerous with his kicks. It doesn't mean that he wasn't a good boxer, but that's an interesting fight though, because doesn't Chavez Jr. have some issues with like discipline and like training and maybe not taking it as serious? I would imagine you want to take it serious against Uriah Hall, you know? That could be an interesting fight.
Yeah, I mean, those two events that I think they're just like fun. If you're into if you're into boxing at all, it's just fun to watch. It's fun.
Absolutely.
The problem with me, I just think we're too much, like we've talked about this every week, but purists. We want these fights to mean something. I don't want to just like it's like watching an action movie. Like, they're fun. Put them on. They're great. It's 2 hours of just entertaining and explosions and death, and it's fun to watch. With a very simple storyline. This guy versus this guy, like good guy, bad guy. And that's great. I love watching it, but what does this mean 6 months from now? Like nothing. It means nothing. Like, Masvidal and Nate Diaz, I guess it's just because Miami and all that, but other than that, it doesn't mean anything. It's just shit talking up until a fight, and then it's over.
I think they had a plan that I think they wanted to box for a while, so that's good that they're doing it. It's cool that they probably both make a good money off of it. You're hoping. I don't think the pay-per-view numbers are going to be anything. I don't think any of those events are anywhere near the pay-per-views they're expecting. So they're probably just going to, depend on their purse, is probably good, and then whatever they'll get for the gate and all that, they're going to get a percentage, and they're going to end up getting a good money, but I still think it's going to come from pay-per-view. Yeah. But I could be wrong, but that's cool. You never know. You never know how that works, but either way, it's just cool to see them making money. But I won't care to order either one of those. Never particularly been like a fan of Jake Paul, and kind of curious how that happens with Mike Perry. I feel like he probably catches Perry. I just have a feeling in a boxing scenario.
Yeah,
but I feel like Mike Perry should just stay where he's at, man. That dude is made for what he's doing right now, which is the bare knuckle. Like, that's a very, very difficult and interesting puzzle to deal with in that arena. Yeah. That's not the guy I'd want to bare knuckle box at all.
Yeah, I just think Mike Perry's just seeing money signs.
Sure.
And I get it.
Which is another one. Great.
It's like, go get it. Go get the money. Yep. I get it. That's why these guys are doing all this stuff. They're bringing money in, like you said, which is awesome. Hey, they're all great fighters. I like a lot of them. I don't like a lot of them, but if they're happy and they're entertaining somebody out there going to make some money, I'm all for it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But there's too much high level stuff coming up that we can be focused on.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I'm gonna save up. I'm saving my shekels for July 27th, Jim.
Oh man,
that card's the one, baby.
All right, well, let's wrap it up. We got a great July coming. We can't wait to watch the fights, as you can tell. I mean, we just talked an hour about them all. Obviously, every week you can come listen to the podcast, and we'll give you our ideas on and opinions on what's going to happen at the next, whether it's a fight night or a pay-per-view. Definitely tune in if you can around July 27th when that Manchester card comes around. We're so pumped. We can't wait. For anyone listening, thank you for the support. Follow us on Instagram at Pinnacle_combat, and our YouTube has the same username. Happy 4th of July, everybody. Dan, you getting ready to grill? I know your parents just got there, right? So you guys are
it's gonna
ready.
Be nice day of grilling. It's a beautiful day out. Like you said, happy birthday, America, and it's gonna be a good day, Jim.
All right, man. I'll talk to you soon. For everyone listening, peace.
Hell yeah.